This video is published by mbkpinternational.com. In this video we're going to change the transmission, and it could also be for changing the main motor on a Guillotine XPC19 Pro. First thing you want to do is you're going to want to take off this back table here, and then take off the top crown, and you got the 4 screws there. I've already taken out the screws to make this a little faster. So take the 4 screws out. Take the 4 screws out, 2 on each side on this, and you just lift it up. And you got this wire here that's plugged in. You can have someone unplug it right there, or you can just lift it straight up and it'll unplug itself. And then we're going to come back here. You're going to need to put your, should have said, before you do this, before you take the crown off and stuff, bring your paper push about to the 6-inch mark or so, because you're going to need to take the back tables off. And again, you get some screws here. You get the 2 here, there, and a couple up front, Phillips. Once those are out, you can take this off. Again, this paper push needs to be at about 6 inches. This is the side you take off if you're going to take off the transmission, because you're going to have to get this one and that one. And I actually recommend taking both off for either the motor or the transmission, so we're just taking both off. Now in this particular cutter here, we're going to replace this transmission here because this thing broke off and it's recessed in there, and we can't get it out to put a new one on. And these are basically the paddles that go through the sensor to stop the blade in the up and down position. So we got to get that back on there. We'll do a separate video to show you how to adjust this if you have to, because you will have to take yours off. If yours is good, you'll have to take it off. Just use a hex wrench. I think it's the 3. I'm not positive, it's 3, I think. And you just take it off, and it will come off as a hole like this. And you can put it into your new one. And then you'd have to line them up to make sure they go in between these perfectly and don't go too far and hit the ends or anything like that. But that'll be a separate video to align this thing and this board here. But for now, we're just gonna take this off here. Give me a Phillips here. So basically, we're just taking this sensor board and bracket off right now. Again, one thing I forgot to mention, I'm sorry, you need to make sure your cutter is unplugged from power before you start messing with this. And you can take that off there. So you're just going to have a sticky square there. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get a 10mm wrench here and take these. There's one there. There's four of these around here. One's going to be under here, so it's going to be a little hard to get to. And we're going to take all that off. And if you're just replacing the motor, then you're going to want to take this cap off. And you're going to have to remove these 4 wires, but before you do that, mark them all, get some masking tape and mark them, and you can do here like number 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can even mark it here 1, 2, 3, 4 if you want to make sure you get these back in the same order. But if you're replacing the transmission and this motor's good, then you'll leave this in place. We'll just leave this in place, and we're just going to, we need to take the motor off first though. So I'm just going to pause this. I'm going to get this these 4 bolts out. Okay, we got the 4 10mm bolts out, and again, there's one there and there. There's one under the bottom and the back, and there's one right there. And once you do that, this is going to kind of, that's the way it goes in like this with this really close to there, but this straight out that way. But anyway, this will start rotating when you get all 4 out. And basically, you're gonna. One thing I want to mention, we're doing this with this cutter on a crate. It doesn't have a stand. You can do this with your cutter on the stand as long as you're careful. You know, you will have we got something where to fall down on. You will have a big drop. So when you're taking this out, you got to have someone holding it to make sure it doesn't fall. Or you can take your cutter, if you got some strong individuals, a few strong individuals, you can just take your cutter off your stand and set it on a workbench somewhere, either like this or on its side. You can do it on its side as well. Either one of its sides you can work on and take these off. Or whichever is easier for you. You can put on one side or the other and put it flat like this on a workbench. But it's up to you as far as which way you want to do it, like that. Taking it off your stand or leaving it on your stand, but just be careful. These aren't light or anything. Okay, one thing you're going to do, you're going to probably want to, I've already pried a little bit open, but you're going to want to get a screwdriver in here and probably help break it free. Just pry it a little bit and get it off the thing here. It should be enough. I'm just going to kind of shake it as I pull out. If it's not enough, you can a little more. Okay, now Let's see, I'm able to put it down real easy. It's got some weight to it. It's probably maybe close to 20 pounds or something. And this thing, when you go to put this back on, it's got a key here, so make sure the key stays in place right there. It goes into a slot inside this transmission, that key right there. Okay, so we're just going to keep this over to the side for now. Again, if you had this on a workbench, you could be doing it like we're doing it here. I've taken this off already. I think I showed you that right here. That came off. That's your sensor. The next thing, we're going to be taking this transmission off, so you're going to need to also take your, we'll come around front here, and we're going to also need to take this front cover off. There's 6 screws, 3 in front, 3 in back, 3 in back, 3 in front here, and then just slide this forward. Because you're going to need to get to some of these hex wrenches here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take, there's one here and one there. Looks like another one right there. And then maybe one up high. Yeah, there's one up high. And there's a nut on the back here for this one here. Right now we got this arm is kind of in the way. So I'm hoping that won't be an issue as far as getting this in and out. But we do have a nut on the back of this one, so we may be able to take it out. Anyway, we're going to take those off now. We're going to go ahead and pause it. Okay, we got these hex. It was a 6mm hex here, and these 2 shorter ones here. This is the shorter one, and this shorter one here. We just got those out, and there's the longer ones over here. And I got that off the bottom down there. There's one more left. It's right here. We had to move this. We had to rotate this to get this bar out of the way to expose that. And I'll show you what we did here. Just go around back. You can either use like needle nose or even just regular pliers. And basically, you're going to be grabbing. It might be easier to show you the needle nose. One thing I want to do, come up front here. I want to move this paper push back. So I'm going to do it by hand. Just turn this clockwise, and we're going to move that paper push back. And just pause it until I get it to the back. Okay, I went ahead and move this paper push here back all the way to give some more room in here. And I'm just going to use, again, you can use regular pliers. I don't even know where the Phillips went. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to go inside there and grab it. And when you grab it, you can rotate this like this. You can go up front, and I'm going to rotate it clockwise, and you'll see it move. You can watch the gears move and watch that bar move out of the way. Here we go. Is it out of the way enough?
Yeah.
Okay. It's pretty easy to turn. You just got to grab it, try not to scar it up, and just turn it by hand. And that way you can move that out of the way to get that last 6mm hex right there. It's right there. And come around the back here. And this one here, this 6mm hex, it's got a nut on the end of it, and so did this bottom one right here. The other two right here was right here and there, and they didn't have no nuts on it because it goes straight into the transmission. But this is the last one we got to get in the transmissions free, except for this bar that's holding it. So we're going to go ahead and take this last one out. We're going to head and pause it here. Okay, we took the last one out. It was right there. I had to move this a little bit more, so we had to rotate that transmission a little more to move this bar down more because to get the hex wrench in there good. But anyway, the long one goes here, and it's got a nut on the other end. The other long one goes there. It's got a nut on the other end, and the 2 shorter ones go here and here. And they're 6mm hex, and I think it's a 14mm nut on the other side. Let's go around to the back. We're gonna. This is in here, and basically this is the only thing it's holding now. This is the transmission is on this rod right now. That's connected to the blade. So we're going to come around back here, and basically all you're going to do is maybe grab it here and here, and kind of maybe lift up slightly, and maybe kind of try to shimmy a little bit as you're pulling it this way. There we go. I should have cut this wire out of the way first. There we go. Okay. We're just going to take the transmission out and put it on a desk and put the new one in. So let's go ahead and pause it here. Okay, here's our old transmission, and here's the new transmission. And you can see we had this in this position right here, and this one's over here. So I want to, before I put this new one in, I want to rotate this to approximately the same position this one's in. So we're just going to do that here like this. I believe it's clockwise. And you just kind of pinch it with needle nose or pliers, and just kind of keep pinching it as you go around in circles with it, and you can see that thing's moving pretty good. Try not to drag it around anywhere and scar it up inside. Might be best to put the needles right inside that slot there and pinch there. It seems like a pretty good spot for it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pause it while I get this lined up to that one now. Okay, we got the new transmission placed in here. I got this gear in the same position the old one came out in, and just get some of these wires out of the way if you can, you know, just like this. And basically what he's gonna do, we're gonna have a guy back here, and he's gonna lift up on this tab back here, this notch here. That's gonna be one spot where you lift up on, and then just maybe your finger on this thing, and he's just basically gonna lift it up and put it into place. And I'm gonna be up front trying to guide the rocker arm onto this, the blade arm. Come on up here. Let's see, he's putting it in place, and you got to get past that. You got to get this gear inside those grooves there. And I'm gonna back it out a little bit, Mike. I didn't have this position. Okay, a little more right there. Now lift it up, Okay, now work it in. Okay, see, we got it in now. It may pull in a little bit more, but now all we got to do is line up these screw holes with him shifting that thing around and putting in the things here. So we're going to head and pause it now. We're going to get those screws in so he can move it around. We can manipulate to get the screw holes lined up. Okay, we're having a little bit issue with lining it up because it's on the blade arm already. And the best thing you're going to have to do is see, I'm going to move this like we did before and hold it back here. And you can see, by the way this is lined up with that, you can see I'm moving it to help line up the screw holes. See how that thing moves up and down while I move this, and you can move it in and out like this as you're going up and down like that, and up and down like this. So we're going to use that technique to line up these holes. Okay, go ahead and pause it. Okay, we got all of them in, the short one here and the short one there, and the long ones here and here. I just need to tighten them down and put the two bolts on the end of these two. Like we use that method of turning that and rocking it back and forth to line up the holes. If you're not able to do that, you'll have to take this rocker arm off here, or this blade arm, and the best way to do that is you're gonna take this whole blade holder with the blade off, and because it's connected to this rod here. So the way to do that, you're going to take this plate off here and this plate off here, and you got some 5mm hexes there, and one back there, so it's 3 on this one, and I think there's down on this side over here. There's one there, and one here, and those plates will come off. And before you do that, you should take this screw off here with this slot here, or that nut, bolt, and that one there with that slot, and then put your lollipops in there. Give me a couple of lollipops, Mike. You put your lollipops in there to hold this, and that way you'll be able to hold these. And when you get these two plates off, you can pull them. Here's your lollipops. If you don't have them, that's what they look like. You take these bolts out and you screw these in place. And then you got this, and you can pull this out. And as you pull this out, you can just take this off there if it's on it. If it's not on it, and this whole blade assembly with the blade, so be careful to be a sharp blade on it, will be connected to this rod here, and this rod will come right off, and you can take it and get it out of the way, and you have free reign of putting your transmission in, lining up the holes. And once you get that in, then you come back in with this whole blade assembly with this rocker arm attached to it, and you come in and you line this up, and you just put it in as you're putting the blade in. And it just comes straight off once you get these out. There's a couple bearings that go down these slots here, but it's pretty simple. You'll see how it comes off. And then you just put these plates back in, tighten them down. If you can't get it lined up the way I showed you the first time, that would be how you do it. Right now we're going to go ahead and tighten all these up, and we'll go ahead and pause it here for now. Okay, we got all the 4 6mm bolts tightened down. And when I was putting it in, before it got completely tight, it still had about that much more to go to pull it in. This was kind of recessed in here in this bar. It needs to be protruding out a couple millimeters. So and this bar basically up against this thing here, So what I was doing, I was tapping it right here to make sure this bar slipped completely onto that shaft there. Tap it right here, just right there, and it slipped completely on. So I make sure it's completely slipped onto this shaft and not sunk in there. It's usually protruded out here a couple millimeters, this part here. And again, we got all these tight, and come back here, we got these 14mm nuts tightened down on it good. And the next step is just going to be putting your motor back on. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and get ready for it. Okay, next step is to put this motor on. I'm in position here. If all you were replacing is the motor, then you would ignore the middle part of replacing this transmission. We first took the motor off, and I showed you these wires to number them. You only need to number these wires if you're going to do the motor. If you're replacing the transmission, not the motor, you don't need to take these wires out, so you didn't need to number them. But if you're taking the motor out completely and replacing the motor, then obviously you're going to have to remove these wires, and you should have numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe even up here 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically put your wires back into your new motor. So, and then we're going to slip this on. And you can see it's got a key slot right there at the bottom, and maybe I'll rotate it to where it's straight down. Let me get that. I'm going to make sure that's straight down. That way I can do this straight down, this key, that way. And basically, again, it's like this. These things straight out like this, flat. These go straight out this way, flat, straight down. I'm going to rotate this all the way down, this key, to the bottom, because I got to line it up with that. You can do it at the top too. If your key was to be falling out, then do it at the top and move this around to the top. But this one's staying in, so I'm going to keep it at the bottom. And it might be better at the top, keep the key from falling out. But I'm going to just lift it up and put it in and try to get into that key groove. And basically you're going to just work it in. And basically I'm kind of lifting on the bottom and back and just kind of pushing that way and shaking it in there. You can see it's going in right now. Once you get it in far enough, and I think I might be to that point, you can start your screws, your 10mm screws, and it will catch you'll go in and it'll catch the threads, and then you can start tightening them a little bit each one, and it'll just start pulling this motor in. And we're going to go ahead and do that now. We'll go ahead and pause it. Okay, we got them all in, and basically when you don't got no bolts in there, you can rotate this any way you want, but this thing, again, this is facing this way, and you can move it back and forth as you fish for these bolt holes with these things. And once you get them all, they should all go in nice and easy, hand tight, you know. So if it's not going in easy, you don't want to cross through it. So get them in, you know, easy first by finger, and then when they start getting to this point, basically I still got a little more to go. You see, it needs to be pulled closer. So we're going to start tightening these down a little at a time all the way around, and basically with a 10mm wrench, and it'll just pull this together and then get all 4 of those tight. And that's basically the next step. And I want to talk to you about this, but make sure these are over instead of under here. I mean, it's probably not a huge deal, but the way it was designed is these go over here, and it will be kind of into here like this. That would be up on top of the transmission. You can put some stick squares and zip ties to hold it where you need it, but we kind of keep these wires on top of this. So if they're hanging down here, you'd want to put them up on here before you put this motor into place. Go ahead and pause it. Okay, one of the last steps, we got these all in. Basically, we got these all in nice and tightened down. I was just using 1 and 2 or this one to pull this. And once you get that, you can hand tighten these the rest of the way, and especially this one for me. And this the cutter in this position, this bottom back one was the hardest one to get to. But you can hand tighten it all the way once you get to all the other 3 tight, and then finish it off is fairly easy that way. So with all 4 of these tight, the motor's in completely. We just got to put this bracket back on. This is your sensor bracket for it. And I'm just going to put it, in fact, if you still got this to put on, you're probably going to put it on first and just, actually going to do I'm not even going to put this on. I'm going to do a separate video for this, because if you're going to have to take your old one out and put the new one in, or if yours is broken like ours, you're going to have to make a whole complete new one and line these paddles up just right to go in there. And then this would go in there towards paddles to go between it. That'll be a different video to line these up. But you're basically done. You just got to put yours shouldn't be broken here like ours. You should have a staff, it should be stuck out about that far, and you can just screw it on in and tighten it down. It shouldn't, and then put yours in. It should line up to where when it rotates, these paddles go right between there, and the other one goes right between there. You just don't want it where the paddle gets to where the paddle's going to hit there. You want it a little bit off of it, about like that 2/3 of it only, not all of it. So it gets close to this one, it can arc on those metal there. You don't want to get them too close to those metal posts. So it's got to be back a little bit, not like that. So that's what's left next. And again, this is on here, and it just rotates around when the transmission rotates around and goes between these, and that's what tells it where to stop at the top and where to stop at the bottom. But again, I will do another video for this, and it just goes right there, and that goes there. We'll do another video of that. You're basically done with this, and your motor is back in. Only thing left if you did the transmission. If you just did the motor, obviously you wouldn't have to do this. If you did the transmission, you can get our video on adjusting the sensor for the blade sensor. And that's basically you're obviously going to have to bring this forward now, this paper push. And you can do that by hand, just by rotating this. It'd be counterclockwise. And you want to bring it to around the 6-inch mark like it was before. And when you do that, you're just going to be able to slide these tables back into place. Go ahead and pause it real quick. Okay, we went ahead and moved this to the 6-inch mark again, approximately. It doesn't have to be exactly 6. It could be 4, 5, 6, maybe even 7. But there's a certain point where if it's too far back, you can't get these tables in. So basically, I'm just going to go ahead and put one of the tables in. Just to keep this out of the way here, on top of this transmission out of the way. You can use a stick square if you want down here, and a zip tie to hold it to the side here to keep it out of the way. You just need to make sure it doesn't get anywhere near this gear here where it can get pinched in this gear. And you got to make sure this doesn't get anywhere near these, when these paddles are on here and rotating around, you don't want it anywhere in there and getting caught in that. You can use another stick square up top if you want to. Just get it out of the way. It needs to be over the side like this, and the table, because the table comes right here and right up against it there. And just make sure all wires are out of the way. And again, you're gonna need to put your sensor and your paddles on here for that, and there'll be a separate video. But I'll just show you. You basically just slide this under here like this, and that will drop down there, and just make sure this is over to the side here. And you put it back together, and you lift up here a little bit to get it up over this bracket there, and you slide it in place. Line it up like this to line up to your screw holes and put your screws in. When you put your screws back in, they should go in nice and easy and straight. Get them all started first, and then snug them all down once they're all started, because you may have to shift it a little bit to line up holes in different areas, so you don't want to tighten any of them down. You want to get them all started first. Same thing for the other side. And you'll be doing the same thing for the front, putting it back into place. You come back with your crown, just make sure you get it plugged in good here, and then your back cover here you'll have on. But that's basically it. I'm going to leave it like this for now, because you should know how to put it back in, because you just took it apart. And we'll have another video for the sensor and the paddles. This video was published by mbkpinternational.com.